Hi everyone, I'm Famicman, and this is the first episode of a new IPTV show called Obsoleet. Now, as you can see, I'm surrounded by some pretty old and pretty interesting looking stuff, and a lot of people might argue that this stuff is pointless, there's no use to it at all, but through this show, I'm going to try to show that everything here has a story, everything here has another use. That's the main point behind this show. I might mix in some newer content, some things with new computers, but I think I'm mainly going to focus on older hardware, older software, stuff like that. Now, without further ado, going into the first segment, the Lineman's Handset. Hi guys, I'm Famicman, and I'm going to be showing you the Lineman's Handset today. It's also known as a butt set, and this is what the telephone guys who would climb your telephone pole would have. This one has a rotary dial, so you can tell it's a little old, and you know, it's a little beat up. It's got some wear, but when I'm looking at it, I mean, all the cord casing, everything looks nice here. I mean, I think it's in pretty good condition for what it is. I mean, you know, these things probably fell to the ground a lot, and I was lucky enough to pick one up, and I'm gonna show you some things with it today. Now, the first thing I'd like to show is the switch on the side here. See that? There's a little switch here. You can press it in and slide it out. Now, when it's out like it is right now, that's in monitor mode, so you can just hear calls. You can put this in your house, and whenever somebody calls, you can just pick it up and hear it. Nobody will even know that you're listening. And then if you go the other mode, that's talk, so you can use it to talk like a normal phone. Probably be used for testing out in the field, but you can just use it as a regular house phone if you really wanted to. Now, what's also really interesting is the type of clips that are used here. Now, these are alligator clips with a single spike in them. You can see there's a little spike in there. That's so you can just pierce the wire. You don't have to take any of the casing off the wire, you can just pierce it. Now, hook this back up. Give it a quick test. Alright, so we're on the line. Now what I have right here is a regular rotary phone. Normal spinny dial. And this right here is a Radioshack mini speaker amplifier. Or amplifier speaker, which will just make this sound louder. On this rotary phone I have a little microphone pickup that I've attached to the back, and I normally attach it right to the handset, but there's a lot of interference, you can't always get the best signal, so I've attached it to a rotary phone to show what we can do. Now, start this. From over here you can see that I have the phone and the handset going into the phone line right now. So I'm going to turn on my amplifier, get a little closer, take the rotary phone off the hook, you hear that. You can also hear if I take it off, put the phone in talk mode. Hello. Stuff like that. Now what's also interesting is that the rotary dial itself works. So I could call up any number right now, so I'm going to call up my Google voicemail on the rotary dial. Make sure no one's using the line. Alright, we're good. And that's the telephone lineman's butt handset. I hope you enjoyed that first segment. That was actually the first segment I filmed for this show, so hopefully it all gets better from there. And this leads into the first contest. I'm going to try to do a contest every episode. This one, if you can remember to the end of the segment, you could hear me dialing a phone number on the rotary dial. Now, if you can figure out what that phone number is, call it, leave a message on my voicemail, and then I will play that message back in the end credits of the next episode. Now, coming up for the next segment, we have 90s cable descramblers and filters, as well as podcasting on the cheap. So today, we're going to be talking about cable descramblers and filters. Okay, so in front of the camera, there's two descramblers. These were known in the 1990s as hot boxes or black boxes, because they could get basically all the pay channels for free. You wouldn't have to do anything. It would decode them all for you. Normally, some channels still do this now, but when you go to a pay channel, it's all scrambled. It looks kind of like static. You might be able to make out the picture in the background. The cable company does this by, well, several methods. There's one called inversion, which basically takes the signal and reverses it. And there's another one that they do by messing up the vertical hold, the horizontal hold, and the color hold. Now, some of these were easily figured out by people, and they could reprogram the chips in these boxes so that they could accept all the channels and not have any of them be scrambled. Now, I have two boxes here. They're Scientific Atlanta boxes. They might look the same, but I can tell some different things about them. They are the same model, of course, but this one on top was the first one that I was familiar with. This one was in my house for a while. If you turn it over, you can see this metallic void sticker right here. There was when you got these new, they had the same model of these for when you would go and get a regular cable box for your TV when you got cable, because some TVs were not cable ready. So these were the basic boxes that you could get from your cable company. Now the void sticker, that shows that this was actually a cable company box at one point, and somebody ripped the sticker off to get into the box, but usually it was taped shut right here. And then they opened it using these strange Torx screws. You can see right there. They're not standard Torx. If they were standard Torx, I could get into here and show you, but there's some very strange security bit Torx, which I don't seem to have. This one over here, got this a couple years ago. See on the back there's no sticker. There's a date on here from 1995. So you can tell how old these are. Now what's interesting about these is that there were several ways that people were caught using them. The first, there was something called a bullet, which happened in 1991, I believe was the first one, where the cable company would send out a signal looking for boxes that had all the channels open. And when it found, one of the boxes found the channel, it would lock the box. Everything would shut down. And then people would call up their cable companies and be like, hey, what's the deal? And the cable companies would be like, ha, you're stealing cable. Now I can report you. So there was stuff like that. There was also stuff like, for pay-per-view channels, they would switch a channel over to another channel real quick. Maybe like something like you were watching, I don't know, something, and then pornography came on, and you call up the cable company to be like, hey, what's going on? You know, my kids are watching this, and they'd get you there. Or maybe there'd be some sort of promotion during a commercial, and you would call that telephone number, and then they would get you. So that's how these worked. So with those, I also believe at one point using these, watching HBO 2, every once in a while the signal would clip out. So you'd get like to a red screen and then it would go back in. That was probably so that people would call up the company and tell them that there's something wrong with the cable, it's getting to a red signal or something. That was another way to catch them. Now we also have this. This is a filter. Some sort, you zoom in there. This is property of suburban cable. This was also used to get channels. You could put this in between your cable coming into your house and then your cable going out into your house. This was used to get, I believe this got Showtime and then HBO. This is actually very similar to a bunch of other adapters for cable. Something called a notch filter, which was actually put on the poles where the cable was coming in to restrict channels going out. Looks something like this. And also for newer digital cable scrambling technologies and stuff, people are getting things that look like these, and they're sticking them in between their boxes, so that way their digital cable boxes cannot communicate back to the cable company. And so they can do all these pay-per-view channels, and the cable company never sees anything coming up. They don't see you buying movies, they don't see anything. But the problem is that the cable companies are pinging your digital boxes, and if something doesn't come back, it shuts it down. They know where the box is, so people can come in and figure out what you're doing. Alright, so we have these descramblers, which are sometimes also known as hot boxes or black boxes. These are really popular. After we had Suburban Cable in this area, and Suburban Cable became Comcast. And then Comcast took all of their analog channels and they put them up to digital. So everything that was pay-per-view that was analog was made into digital. And that way these basically became obsolete. Then after that you got boxes like this. This is another Scientific Atlanta model. That one I don't really know anything about. This was the next step. Nowadays we have even smaller digital boxes look like this. And these are used by both Comcast and Verizon in this area for Fios television and Comcast digital cable. Now, I've tried using these boxes today because there's still some scrambled channels in my area on basic cable, but I didn't get anything unscrambled. So I'm guessing that Comcast uses some new scrambling technology to scramble their channels. And that is 90s cable scrambling and 90s cable filters. Okay, so this is podcasting on the cheap. And to give you some background about my podcasting history, I've done 2 podcasts with me and my friends. I did most of the editing and stuff on them. And I've also done a couple with some other people, made a couple appearances as a guest and done stuff like that. And first thing you want to know when you're podcasting is what your budget is. So to start out, like doing something for Skype back in the beginning, I had something really simple, which is your basic computer headset kind of thing. This one's falling apart. It's probably in a box of junk with some other stuff for a couple bucks. And this will get your job done at first. It's got 2 jacks, one for microphone, one for speakers. And you just, you hook it up, you can listen. So it's good for Skype, good for when you're by yourself. This one, it's a newer version of the headset I got. This one was $20 at Best Buy. Don't know what the brand is. It's probably Dynex, which is Best Buy's brand. It's the same basic thing. This one works well. I use this every time I go on Skype, every time I'm playing a game. This hasn't failed me yet. And when I started podcasting with a group of people, we actually used something like this. Like we'd put it down on the table, we'd plug in for the microphone into a computer, and we would talk into the microphone like this. We'd bend it whichever way. We'd all have to lean really close as we were talking. And it wasn't really a good solution. It got the job done. We could do what we wanted to, but it wasn't something really good. Then after that, we kind of upgraded to this. You could also say we downgraded. But this is a standard 1/8 inch microphone. This actually came with my first computer, which was a compact Presario running Windows 95. This came with it, and it was sitting around gathering dust, and we thought, yeah, why not try talking into this? So we actually taped it to a stick, and we would bend it around, and so we could all talk into it, and that's how that worked. That's actually how it got this accident here. I was trying to take it off the stick, and it broke, so I had to quickly fix it because we were just about to record, and it never sounded the same way again, so this one had to be tossed out. And probably a week after that happened, I got this, which is a 4-channel sound mixer from Radioshack. This was $30. It's right in the middle of a Radioshack. They're all set up the same way. Just go right to the middle and you'll see this on your right. And it has a lot of features here. It's got RCA output, so you get your red and your white. And also has two inputs, a ground. You can run this off of an AC adapter. It doesn't come with one. And you can also throw in a 9-volt battery. You can put in 4, I believe it's 1/4-inch jacks for your microphone control. Every mic can have its own channel here. And also the jacks on the back, the auxiliary inputs, those run on the same mixing channels here. So channel 1, channel 2 is your left and right for your input 1, and then channel 3, channel 4 is your left and right for your input 2. So you can also mix and match when you do this. So like what we would sometimes do is I only have 3 microphones here, as you can see. So we might hook in an iPod or something, and we would play music through while we were talking. So that's always a possibility. It's a pretty good all-around mixer. There's also the mono switch or stereo switch, whichever you prefer. Doesn't really matter, it's all up to you. Now microphone-wise, I have these 3 microphones. These are XLR microphones, and then it has the cable that converts from XLR to 1/4-inch. I think these are all unidirectional, pretty sure, I can't really tell. These 2 I got in a box of junk, and this one was from an old karaoke machine. There's actually used to be a 4th microphone, but it never really worked, so I just tossed that away and just salvaged it, so I had these 3. So now when you're using it with the mixer, you just take the plug, put it in the front, and adjust the volume control. And running this, we would probably have podcasts for maybe an hour long or something. So I have a Kobe Deluxe Universal AC/DC adapter. This is probably $6. It fits in it perfectly. I don't know how long the 9-volt battery runs. Batteries are expensive, don't really want to go through too many of them. I just stick with the adapter just in case. So now we have these 3 microphones. There'd usually be about 4 people podcasting in our group. So what I would do is I would do 2 people to a microphone. But I didn't have any microphone stands. So I improvised with the top of a thing of blank CDs, and I put some weights in there. This has D batteries that are probably really old in here. And I would just put in the microphone and let it sit. So that way it was at least angled in some direction. You didn't have to keep passing the microphone. It worked. I might want to get some stands later, but for now I'm happy with this. I didn't really ever do this, but you can make a easy pop guard, which is sometimes you see those screens that are a little circle like right on top of the microphone. That's to protect it from popping sounds like P's and B's. What you can do is you can get a clothes hanger and you can stretch pantyhose over it and then place that over it, and that can help you. I don't really think that I need it with the amount of time I put into podcasting. I don't really do it that much anymore, so I don't really find a use for it. So one of the good things about splitting up people is that sometimes I would have this one friend on and he talks pretty loudly. So every channel in here you can put it on its own sound. So I might bring up everybody else to about an 8 or something, and then I'd put him at a 5. So that way the sounds all even, he's not overpowering anybody. So what else I like about this is that it's really easy to connect up to a computer. So I have this 2-part cord here. It's a RCA cord, and then there's an RCA to 1/8-inch jack. And this you just plug here into the output, and then this goes into your computer. Pretty simple. Now if you want to get really technical with things, you might want a dedicated sound card for your computer. This is a really old Sound Blaster. It's got 1997 written on it. I don't even think this will fit in a computer anymore, the way that the card is. But the side basically looks like every sound card. You have your line in, you have your microphone in, you have your speakers out, and I think you also have a MIDI adapter there, which is pretty interesting. And looking at this card, it looks pretty cool. I mean, it has, you can hook it up to your PC speaker, your CD in from your computer. So these were pretty good at their time. I hear Sound Blaster is still a really good name, and it isn't too hard to find an older one that's still pretty good. I think I have one in my computer right now. Probably a little bit more recent, maybe like a 2003 or something that I got used. Works great. And then so just to hook this up, you would put it into your line in, and that's how you would get the audio from this into your computer. If you're doing something like this. You, of course, use the microphone in, like that. I don't think this one's fitting right now for whatever reason, but that's what you would do. And that's it. Podcasting on the cheap. I don't think anything here was more than $40. This might have been about 40, somewhere between 30 40. Salvaged microphone from an old karaoke machine. Really cheap microphones from a yard sale. Old sound blaster. I don't know where that came from. This came with the computer. Recycled that. $6 for an adapter, $20 for a headset. It all depends on what you want to do. That's podcasting on the cheap. That's all for episode 1 of Obsoleet. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any criticism, feedback, comments, questions, then feel free to email me or feel free to go to the IRC channel. All the information for that will be in the credits. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you again for the next one.
My